But essentially, what I envision happening in the House of Representatives is that we have the most extreme wing of that party is about to get power. Kevin McCarthy has been in leadership for a while, but he was not one of the more moderate people. And he's already proven that he will bend to what the Freedom Caucus wants. And those are like the Tea Party people. So I think we're going to see a pretty extreme House Republican rule. And I think they will use the threat of government shutdowns in order to get things attached to government funding and defense authorizations that wouldn't be able to be passed on their own. That was a strategy that was used in the early Obama years, and it worked. And so I do think we're going to see that again. When it comes to the Senate, the Georgia runoff, which is going to be happening on December 6th, is really going to determine how well the Senate functions. Because if Warnock wins, he's the Democrat. If he wins, then it's going to be 51-49 in the Senate, which gives the Democrats a majority, which means that they get one extra seat on every committee. Now, that's important because when you vote something out of committee, that's how you get bills to move forward. That's how you get judges to move forward. That's how you get investigations to happen. Like, you need to have that vote so that things can actually progress. If, however, that idiot football player is voted into the Senate, then the Republicans will have the ability, because all the committees will be even. It'll be, the same amount of Democrats and Republicans. They'll have the ability to basically just shut governing down in the Senate if they want to. So even though Kamala Harris will have the tie, those committees not really being able to function is just going to grind government to a halt. So I think it
Mm.
actually gets much, much uglier if the Republicans are able to do that. If they're not, then we will get some judges to kind of balance out whatever, Trump and McConnell did all those years. So I think we're in for a bumpy 2 years. I really do. And I think it's going to be very important to be paying attention to what gets attached to must sign legislation. Unfortunately, our media likes to cover the easy bills, the ones that are 5 pages long and do, crazy things and have no
Right.
chance, because those are juicy. But you have to read the really long ones that get passed 5 seconds before Christmas, because that's where all the secrets are going to be. And that is going to be so important in the next Congress, because that's how all the governing is going to get done.
Wow, that's an excellent point. Yeah, and they're going to focus on the next 2 years. There's going to be the Republican primary is just going to be a clown car, and if Joe Biden doesn't run again in 24, then the Democratic will have an insane primary full of a whole slew of, when it's all said and done, it might just be, The Rock versus Lady Gaga or whatever. So that is great theater and great ratings for the corporate media. Having followed the 2019-2020 primaries and election, I saw it firsthand, and it's big. They cover it just like, as a sports fan, I feel like I'm just watching March Madness. Like, they just
Yeah.
cover it the exact same way, and they just want to hype up the game to get ratings. It doesn't really matter. And while that's happening, like you say, they'll just be attaching all these horrible things to bills and stuff like that. And the media won't talk about it. They'll talk about whatever, like they want to outlaw grasshoppers or something stupid like that. And,
Yeah.
and,
It's a lot
um,
easier to cover a speech than it is to read a 3,000 page bill.
mm,
And it's a lot more fun going to all these campaign events and being like, oh, did you hear the crazy thing that they said? And I think the horse race politics, it's rewarded. And so I think that's why we get it. But there's real governing that happens. And I think it's a shame that it gets ignored. And I'm really concerned for the next 2 years, because the last time when Obama was president, we had John Boehner as the Speaker of the House. And like, I have issues with Boehner and Paul Ryan, but there was a line they wouldn't cross. Kevin McCarthy would cross that line, I think. Like, he's afraid of the crazy wing of his party. This is why Liz Cheney, which, like, I hate defending a Cheney, but he kicked her out of the leadership for participating in the January 6th committee and wouldn't allow anybody else in the Republican Party, lest they, lose their elections, which both people who participated in that committee did. It basically became like a loyalty test. If you participate in this committee, you're kind of persona non grata in the House Republicans. Like, that's the leadership of Kevin McCarthy, where I just think that Boehner and Paul Ryan, they were numbers guys. They would work with the Democrats when they had to. Boehner wrote a whole book about how much he hated the Freedom Caucus people. It was
Right.
quite funny. I know he recorded it while drinking wine, so if you listen to the audiobook, it's even funnier than it is in writing. Um, he just randomly in the middle of it just says "fuck Ted Cruz," just out of nowhere. It's fantastic. But that's who was in charge the last time we had this divided government with a Democratic president set up. Kevin McCarthy, he wasn't one of the guys that voted to keep that government funding or that government shutdown in 2013 going. That's when they were trying to like repeal Obamacare or just like damage it. Our government was shut down for 3 weeks. And I looked at the vote that reopened it. And a lot of the people that were just crazy, that no one knew their names and you could just dismiss them, not only are they still in Congress, but a bunch of them that voted no, that wanted to keep that government shut down, are now in leadership positions in this party. So it's like really like the people I saw 10 years ago, I was like, oh, you nuts. They have now been promoted. So, and
Oh,
I don't think that has really been a part of the conversation here, where this is not just a standard group of Republicans that are taking over, even though I get the same vibe you do, that like I think people are kind of done with this whole Trump thing. In Congress, there's been a lag in Congress too. I think we're about to see our craziest House of Representatives, and I'm deeply concerned about it because I do not trust these people that are getting into power. All the people that were more moderate and put country before just like wacky things, they've all retired or been kicked out of Congress. Like Liz Cheney's not going to be in Congress. Adam Kinzinger's not going to be in Congress. Um, yeah, I'm really concerned about the Republican behavior that we're going to see starting in January.
you think it's just more extremist, right wing, like just insane conspiracy theory types, or what do you?
Well, there is that. Marjorie Taylor Greene will have the ear of the Speaker of the House. And I think she will probably be on committees. So it's like, yeah, the truly crazy people will be empowered in a way that we haven't seen. But I think it's less that and just more people that are so beholden to corporations that there really isn't a line. And I think that we're going to have a lot of people that are against government, period. So having the government shut down, these are the type of people to be like, good, we shouldn't have a government. Everything should be done by the private sector. Like, I think that we have a
Ooh,
group of people that are just very disrespectful of government, that should not be in charge of running a thing they don't believe in. And I think they are zealots in that. So if there is a bill or whatever they say they believe in that they want to attach, I do think they will bring us to the brink. Like, I will be genuinely shocked if our government doesn't get shut down in the next 2 years, because that is the strategy they used the last time. It kind of worked a few times. I mean, it backfired, but it didn't because stuff still got snuck through. I think the strategy is going to be used, and based on their previous votes, I think the people that are in power are the people that are not going to do what John Boehner did. They're not going to go to Nancy Pelosi and be like, okay, let's make a deal and get out of this and like ignore the crazy wing. I feel like the crazy wing is going to be catered to more than ever before, based on the fact that the crazy wing are now the people that are going to be in charge of the committees, are now like moving on up in that party. So yeah, I'm mostly concerned about the government shutdowns and what they will get attached to largely ignored large bills that become law. That's what I'm looking out for.
mm. Man, well, we're going to be talking to you more in the next year or two, because it sounds like you're going to be able to uncover for us a lot more of the hidden attachments that are going to be. That's what they always do. I mean, that's just like in the 5 years I've been doing this show, I've seen almost 6 years now that I've seen they love doing stuff while there's a distraction going on. I mean, especially in they've always done this. They've always just like, when there's some big crazy thing happening, then there's some little quiet, awful thing that no one's talking about going on, down the road or behind closed doors or whatever. So that's going to be the part that, yeah, is going and the mainstream media won't pay attention to it at all. They just,
Yeah.
they're paid not to, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the presidential election is the mother of all distractions. And we also have to keep in mind that when they're running for office, all that money that they are collecting for their campaigns is going to the media. They're
Right.
paying for ads. They're paying for, pieces in magazines, and like they are paying our media. They are the customer. So it's not just that the media is lazy and wants to cover campaigns instead of governing, even though I do think that is a factor. I think the bigger factor is that they are financially incentivized not to piss off politicians, because that cuts off the gravy train. They'll just pay someone else to run
Right.
their ads. So the whole system is corrupt. And this is how we end up so uninformed that when we vote, I don't know how to explain why we vote the way we do, because it's certainly not based on governing. It's based on largely lies and nonsense.
Yeah. Largely lies and nonsense. And it's just, yeah, I mean, the last two presidential elections, there was something between both candidates was something somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 billion spent. And like you say, some of that was like staff and, buses and jets or whatever, but a lot of that was ad. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in ad buys on the network side, on the local side. That's a lot of money. And you can't, it's just like you say, we're just beholden to this business model that they can't get out of. And it's like why we got to have the Super Bowl every year, like that's because there's just too much money at stake. It's a big time of the year. We have to have, and so we have to have a big election cycle. Other countries, their presidential election or prime minister election is 30 days. If the campaign is 60 days or something like that, or 90 at the most, it's like you run and then you boom and then you win and you're sworn in the next day. We have a year and a half. I mean, at the beginning of next year, we're going to start, Trump's already announced, but you're going to start having the beginning of next year, in the next 3-4 months, everybody's starting to announce. And then we're going to start having the campaigns by next summer, in the next like late summer, fall, if my memory serves, is when we'll start having televised debates of the primaries. And that'll go on for 4, 5, 6 months. And then we'll start.
The whole time, we have to keep in mind that a lot of people that run are currently in Congress. So while they're running, they're not doing their jobs, especially if they're running for president. And then all of them in Congress is only 2 years long. And in the second year of the Congress, they're all running. So it's well known that if they're going to get stuff done, they do it in year 1, and then year 2. They have to fund the government and, authorize wars, which this Congress did not accomplish. But yeah, in the second year of a Congress, they seem to act like their job is to get their job again instead of actually doing the job. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's going to be insane, and I'll be curious to see what happens. And we'll have you back on the show, in the next couple months to see, like you say, I want to find out what stuff they tack on to this last minute thing. Like you say, right before Christmas is when they usually do a lot of add-ons. So
that's the thing, right? Like, it's not going to be fun as a country, but for you and I as content creators, they're going to give us so much. So I mean, have a great show.
I'm like, oh, this is going to be a fun time. I mean, I would do these live streams after the debates that would like get huge numbers. And I'm releasing this special in the next couple of months. And I said, the next 2 years, then I'm going to release another special in the summer of 2024, because I'm going to have a good, 14 to 18 months of making fun of these jackasses and all their insane shit that it's going to be. Yeah, I'm going to have 2 specials as a result of this. So yeah, it is insane. It is it's a bummer, but it's like, I don't know what else to do other than make fun of it, because I don't know what else to do.
That's the only thing we can do. We have to laugh about it. That's why I'm constantly putting jokes in my own show, because it's like, if we don't laugh about this stuff, we're gonna go insane. So yes. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and we have to laugh at it.
It was funny, because that's why I was, sometimes I get too mad doing the show, and I was like, I got to just go make fun of it, because it's not going to change, or right. I mean, if it changes, I don't know how, but I'll just keep making fun of it. And it was so funny when you were on Anything Can Happen game show, and Ron's my co-host. And then when Michael Madsen goes, oh, I don't pay attention to any of this, all 3 of us went, oh, he's so, like, we were so envious that he didn't, you don't have to follow this insanity. Like, that was so funny. We didn't go, wow, come on. We were all like, oh, dude, I'm so jealous. You don't know.
So jealous. And then he beat me.
And then, of course,
and then he won.
Which kind of summarizes the whole American political system anyway. Like, you could be all this informed and know all this stuff, and then somebody else who doesn't know what they're doing wins. Just
Herschel Walker is in a runoff
Herschel Walker
to be a senator.
Oh God.
He's running in an erection. Like, come on.
Yeah.
The jokes just write themselves with that guy.
He's unreal. It's amazing to me that this is happening. A guy I watched play in the USFL when I was a kid is now having to cover up for his girlfriend's abortion or prostitute or whatever. I can't keep track of whatever,
There's
tale
more
of
than
woe.
one.
There's more.
That's the thing. There's more than one. There's also possibly CTE issues. Like, the man's like, his brain is off. Like,
For sure.
and we're gonna put him in the Senate. Like, what is this country? It's entertaining
country.
though.
It's entertaining.
Gotta give it that.
Oh, well, Jen, thank you for taking time to be honest. Tell everybody where they can watch and listen to your show.
So my show's audio only. It's called Congressional Dish. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, all those places. And then I also have a Patreon because I don't accept any ads. I don't want to be paid off like these other media people. So if you support the show on Patreon, I put up bonus stuff when I feel like it. And but yeah, the show is everywhere that podcasts are found. It's called Congressional Dish.
Well, everybody, if you haven't listened to this show, listen to it. You'll really see how the sausage is made, and you do a fantastic job of breaking it down, just very matter of factly. This is the Republicans did that, the Democrats did that. This is what was attached. Like, you really break it down very just wholesale. This is what happened, and you're doing a service. You're doing a service.
Hopefully it's fun too. I try not to make it boring. I don't find it boring, so hopefully other people don't either. This stuff is so fascinating. So
it is fascinating when just listening to you today on the show, like the way you, like, I didn't realize that if you have a 51-49 majority in the Senate, you get an extra committee seat. I'm like, wow, that's why that's so important. I didn't know that. Like, that's really critical.
You would think our media would be saying that over and over again, but because the horse race is decided, they've kind of checked out of that election. It's ridiculous. Like, people don't understand the huge ramifications. Like, is our government going to function or not for 2 years are resting on that one election. It's wild.
Wow. Well, everybody go listen to Congressional Dish. Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, anytime. Aloha.
Aloha. That was Jen Briney, ladies and gentlemen. Always great having her on the show, hearing what she has to say. It's really, it's like I say, please listen to her show, Congressional Dish, because you'll really understand the details of how laws actually made in this country. So, hey, everybody, thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood. And go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.